All right. I think there's a little bit more doubt out there this offseason than in years past about, well, a lot of things, Georgia, but kind of specifically the defense. I'm seeing there just be less faith in this is going to be a Kirby Smart defense. This is going to be an elite Georgia defense. And what I'm not going to do is sit here and tell you this is 100% going to be an elite defense, but it does have the makings of it. It is an inexperienced group. There are downfalls, there are cons to looking at it in a positive light when you say, hey, like they lost a lot of talent, this is an inexperienced group. But I want to sift through the reasons why you should trust that this defense is going to be very good, that you should believe that Georgia is going to have one of the best defensive units in college football, probably one of the handful of best defensive units in the country. I've got my reasons listed out. I want to sift through them with you and stick to the end because the last one I think is the one that I haven't thought about as much, and it's kind of what I prefaced here at the beginning. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post talking Georgia's defense. Go to dogpost.com and check out all of our written content, but I won't bore you with the website plug for too long. The first reason is the most obvious, and it is the root of everything, and this is a Kirby Smart-led defense. This is a Glenn Schumann-led defense. And these defenses are more successful than they aren't. Stacked with talent over the course of the last few years, but the coaching and the development is a big part of that, and the culture is a big part of that, Kirby Smart developed a culture at Georgia and a culture that definitely extends even further, I believe, with this defense because he was a part of it. He is a part of Georgia history and Georgia culture. He was a secondary player in the 90s, right? And a pretty good one. And that has helped him establish a culture that the players of today really care about and really have bought into. And in terms of development, the Georgia defensive staff led by Kirby Smart is doing a better job than pretty much every program out there. And you go and you look at when the NFL draft rolls around every year, what you see in the headlines is praise about the Georgia football program. It's praise for Kirby Smart, whether it's from the Texans, who love how Kirby Smart's developing defensive backs and talked about that when they drafted Kamari Lassiter, or it's the Eagles who recognize, hey, they have a championship culture. They have championship talent. Let's go get a few of those guys. And now there are rumors that they might go after Jaguars and former Georgia defensive end Trayvon Walker. They want even more of that. The Eagles, I just talked about the Eagles. The Packers, they've got a handful of defensive guys. They grabbed 2 defensive linemen around the draft time in Warren Brinson and Nazir Stackhouse to add to that culture, to add to that talent level. Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, Travaris Robinson, Trey Scott, this defensive staff is trustworthy, and it is the root of why you should not just believe, but almost expect Georgia to have one of the best defensive units in college football. I think that you'd be hard-pressed to look around the rest of the country and find just a coaching staff that's better than that group. Dante Williams, I didn't even mention all of the guys they have on that staff. Number 2, next reason, is the talent. The 4 and the 5 stars. When you look around college football, there aren't many programs like Georgia's that stack it up talent-wise. I've got Georgia's rough depth chart pulled up. That's something you can go look at dogpost.com. Literally just Google defensive depth chart Dawg Post and you'll see my story about the projected defensive depth chart. But when I look through here, and I'm looking at projected starters, and then we'll go into the second unit a little bit as well, the plethora of 4 and 5 star talent is amazing. Edge rusher. Now, I actually don't remember if Elo Madozi, the transfer, what his recruiting status was coming out of high school, but I will confirm that right now. But Gabe Harris was a high 4-star. Elo Madozi was a 4-star transfer and one of the best transfer portal defensive ends. So there is at least talent that is recognized with him. But when you think about the rest of the guys who are mostly homegrown, Gabe Harris, probably a starter, 4-star. Jordan Hall, top 5 recruit in the country, 5-star in his class. Christian Miller, 4-star. Raylan Wilson, 5-star linebacker. CJ Allen, high 4-star linebacker. Daniel Harris, 4-star corner. Dalen Everett, 5-star corner. Janelle Aguero, 5-star defensive back. KJ Bolden, 5-star defensive back. You go into other guys who are going to be in the rotation or potentially starters as well. Joseph Jonah Ajonye, high 4-star. Nasir Johnson, 4-star. Quintavious Johnson, 4-star. Chris Cole, 5-star. Justin Williams, 5-star. Ellis Robinson, 5-star. DeMello Jones, high 4-star. The talent on this defensive unit it's hard to find a unit like that. Ohio State has put together units like that. You know that they have top-tier talent. Clemson's got some top-tier talent on their defensive unit with some 4 or 5 stars. Alabama's got some top-tier talent. There are a handful of programs like that. Penn State, certainly. Michigan's got some of that. But Georgia, on this consistent basis, just plugging and playing all of this talent, the amount of 4 and 5 stars is almost hard to believe. It's almost difficult to believe how much they've stockpiled. And if one gets hurt, they've got another one waiting in the wings. So I think that's one of the secondary reasons for sure. Number 3 is I think Georgia has one of the best position group units in all of college football, not just on the defensive side of the ball. But I think Georgia's linebackers are one of the most talented units in the country. That collective group of CJ Allen, Raylan Wilson, Chris Cole, and Justin Williams, particularly those 4 in that inside unit, are some of the best in college football. Now, I'm actually going to talk about the linebackers a little bit more in depth later on during this week because someone had something to say about them. But to me, when I think about talent and I think about ceiling and I think about what they've already accomplished, that is one of the best units in the entire sport. CJ Allen is exactly what you want in a Mike linebacker and in a quarterback of the defense. That is what Kirby has gotten. Chris Cole has versatile potential. Justin Williams, athletic freak. Raylan Wilson, athletic freak. They've got a unit that's just overpowering, and I think that you will see that displayed this coming season. Next season, Georgia in 2024 dropped off statistically on the defensive side of the ball, right? They dropped out of the top 10 in overall defense. They allowed some high-scoring games, but what I want to tell you is I don't think the drop-off was that bad when you think about it. Held Clemson to 3 points, held Tennessee Tech to 3 points, did not allow Kentucky to score a touchdown. It was a couple of games that spiked these numbers and made it look like Georgia's defense holistically was not as good, but this was a very, very good Georgia defense. Georgia Tech is one of the games that spiked it when Haynes King went wild on them, and that's not a good performance. Alabama spiked it when Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams did what they did. Those are both games where Georgia was scored 40 points on. Massachusetts was a weird one where they allowed 20 points in that game, and then Mississippi State, they allowed 31 points in that game. Other than that, they largely shut down these teams. Held Texas to 15 points, that coming mostly in one half. Held Tennessee to 2 touchdowns. Held Texas again under 20. It wasn't as good as it had been the last few years, but it was a unit that I think got dogged on a little bit too much statistically. So I don't think that there was this huge drop-off. And I think that they can overcome that heading into this season. The final reason I want to talk about is Georgia's lost all sorts of defensive talent year in and year out over the last few years, and it's remained one of the top units in college football. Why all of a sudden do we expect that to be different this coming season? You lose a lot of sack production, you lose secondary production, but they've been losing that. They lost Trayvon Walker and other guys. They lost Jalen Carter and other guys like Christopher Smith in the same offseason. Now they lose Malachi Starks, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams. Why can't they overcome that if they overcame losing Javon Bullard and guys like that all in one offseason? It's reload. I talked about how much talent there was on this defensive side of the ball. I don't see how that changes this coming season. Now, there is a little bit more mystery, and that's why questions have popped up about Georgia. But from a talent standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, the expectation should be this will be one of the best units in college football. Overall view of the defense, we'll get into more nitty-gritties as time goes on, and I am going to talk about the linebacking unit this week, and I appreciate you watching.